Hello, my name is Matthew, and earlier today I talked about America by Franz Kafka. This is the edition that I read, and I didn't really talk about all the things that were on my mind while I was reading the book and the things that I've been thinking about after I've finished the book. And I thought, since America has a second title, which is The Man Who Disappeared, I would take that opportunity to talk just a little bit more about America. And I absolutely love this cover design. You can see very proper, professional, studio looking posed photograph, but something is quite off about it. It looks like he has a head of a giant onion. And a quick digression: Penguin Classics did a series of themed covers. So here's another one for the castle. You can see that same posed look, but we have an animal coming out of the head. And then the collection of short stories, which has The Burrow is the title of one of the stories. And again, a character that almost has a beak. And the reason I point this out, and I often don't think about the covers of a book other than appreciating the good design. When you're reading Kafka, any of these stories or novels, The Trial, Castle, America, it is so unearthly and so unsettling. The characterization, the world building, the atmosphere is so strange and alien. It feels like an alternate dimension. And I find it so appropriate that we would have these cover designs because reading America, if we knew that the characters looked like this, well, the text on the page would make you agree. You wouldn't be shocked at all. You would say, these aren't really quite human people. There's something off kilter about what's going on, and the decision making and the logic and natural conclusions and natural consequences that are so apparent and obvious in everyday life seem separated from the logic that you find in a Kafka novel. The title of the book I find baffling. Either America or The Man Who Disappeared. It's a story of Carl Rossman, who is shipped off to America because he has slept with one of the servants. And we see him bantering around New York and around New York City, New York suburbs. Ultimately, he ends in an Oklahoma theater company, meeting all of these strange characters. And we have recurring characters. We have the two vaudevillian tramps, Robinson and Delamarche, that he meets on the way. But it's such a dark, claustrophobic, tunneling novel where we're set in these interiors where Carl is constantly lost or stranded or imprisoned with the characters and circumstances and unnecessary strictures that are put on him. It's quite unlike Lonesome Dove, or a book that I just read, Days Without End, that are sprawling American novels. The idea that you are getting getting a sense of the either the history or the expansiveness of the country of America. Instead, he arrives in America and is immediately thrown into those cornered Kafka-esque situations. The fact that he is in America is besides the point. It could be anywhere in this story. I feel like the Kafka logic is just that for a world, for Europe at the time, for people that haven't traveled, America seems like the country of the unknown, or a country of opportunities, or just a far distant place. And in that way, I feel like it aligns with the atmosphere and the eeriness that underlines so much of Kafka's stories, where we're in these strange, otherworldly places, whether it's a penal colony, or a traveling circus act, or a castle. Before we get in to those ever turning, grinding, bureaucratic machines. And it is dark. America is much lighter in tone. It's the least Kafka-esque story. It's episodic in a way that is very easy to follow. We have Carl Roseman being thrown into circumstances and then being thrown out of them. Of course, we talked about him on the boat, and then he is with his uncle, and one of the uncle's friends that he meets, I can't remember his name, but invites Carl to go to this mansion outside of New York, and Carl, against his uncle's wishes, accepts the invitation and goes off, gets into a fight with one of the family members, tries to escape the house, wants to go back to his uncle's, and at the stroke of midnight, there's a messenger there to deliver this letter. In the letter, the letter's from the uncle saying, because you went against my wishes, you are no longer welcome back in my home. I wish you well. And then off Carl goes, and he meets these vagabonds that are promising him a job, success, comfort, security, all the while just fleecing him. He gets into this hotel restaurant. He's a lift boy, and he talks about how great he is being a lift boy. There's an amazing scene. So many of these stories are set in these bedrooms or offices where people are sleeping in beds, and Carl's put in this bedroom, gets under the covers. He's in his pajamas, his undergarments, and there's a knock at the door, and it's one of the servants who had heard him in a previous conversation. He goes over to the keyhole, and she asks to be admitted. And he says, well, I'm undressed. Give me a moment to get myself more appropriately attired. And she says, well, there's no need for that. They haven't even met, practically. So they make an agreement. He unlocks the door. He scurries over to the bed, gets under the covers, and she comes in, and they have a conversation. And she says, I just need somebody to talk to. And he's under the covers. Those vagabonds come back, create havoc. One of them ends up getting him fired. We find out the hotel and the restaurant is this huge machine-like operation that has security, and there's ranks and positions. And he ends up barely escaping. He runs out of the hotel without his jacket. He has just like an undershirt on, and the police stop him, and then the vagabonds come back, and they rescue him. And finally he ends up in this woman, a very memorable character, Brun Hilda, who now has Delamarche and Robinson as her servants. And Carl Roseman gets wrapped up in all of this, and he's in this bedroom. He's in this apartment, imprisoned. He's now a prisoner. Early on in the novel and throughout the novel, we saw this character trying to think about how is he going to make his way in the world. He has a little money. He has some contacts. He has some prospects. And by the time we get towards the closing of the novel, these opportunities have been shot down. His vision of opportunity has been crumbling and corroding. He has a moment, and there's a moment of tumult where there's several fight scenes of him trying to get out of this apartment and situation. In the middle of the night, he goes off in the balcony, and there's a neighbor on a neighboring balcony studying. And they have this conversation, and grim and also hilarious. He's describing, Carl is describing to this student that he just met, that he's imprisoned. He's now just a servant. And the student says to him, accept it. The student goes on to say that he works at a department store and he studies at night. And Carl says, could you maybe get me a job at the department store? And the student says, you have no idea the important status, how unbelievably hard it was to get this job at this department store. There's no way you would be able to get a job in the department store. It would be easier to become a judge or a senator than to work in this department store. And we find that every position, all these places that we've visited that have been so busy, and so complicated, and so congested, it's all important and of the highest rank. And he immediately concedes. We have a fragmentary chapter where he's taking Brun Hilda, who is this wildly exaggerated character, overweight, completely unself-reliant, needs to have servants waiting on her hand and foot, bathing her and washing her, and he's now pushing her around in an apple cart covered in a blanket. The scene after that, we have the Oklahoma theater scene, which in Kafka's way ends with the slightest hint of lightness, but I just wanted to talk about Kafka. It's kind of been bugging me the rest of the day. Some of the thoughts that I had, namely just the otherworldly nature of all of these stories and how brilliant just this cover design is. If that was our main character and you read this story, you would not be surprised. So, those are my thoughts on The Man Who Disappeared. Please let me know what you think. If you read the book, please leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and take care.